Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Verneda Adele, your anti-racist executive producer. And in this space, we are all about all of the tips, tricks of the trade, and everything that is needed, ensuring that you can thrive in your event profession, to thrive in the C-suite, particularly if you're running fundraising events. We got you. We got you. So I'm Verneda Adele. I've been producing events for over 20 years. And very, very excited to be here tonight because tonight's topic is a good one. They're all good, but this one is particularly one that I think is important, particularly whether or not your clients are internal, like you are the head of a fundraising department at an organization, or you're the head of marketing, or you're the head of communications, and therefore have purview over events in your organization, or if you are an independent producer, if you're a producer who has external clients, like very much like I've had for the majority of my career, then you very much, it is imperative that you maximize the return on investment. Tonight, we are going to talk about maximizing the return on investment for your clients. And I'm very, very excited about this topic. So, like we like to do, we're going to do 3 quick tips. We're going to start with number 1. How to maximize your client's return on investment when you are producing an event. The first and number 1 thing, you got to manage the money. You have to not only manage the money, you have to advocate for your client's money. What do I mean by advocate for your client's money? It is imperative when you set out and you do that OTB, like we talked about in our earlier video, your objectives, your timeline, and your budget, that is the foundation of your event. The objectives. What are you aiming for? What is the goal? What is the fundraising goal? What is the marketing goal? What is the audience? What is the service? What is the marketing goal? All of those are laid out. What is your project timeline? How are you going to get it done? And who's responsible for what? And that third piece, the budget. Now, the budget, there is often a budget that should have some level of padding in it. That doesn't mean that you have to use it. Anyone worth their snuff that is a seasoned producer, your goal is always to come in under budget. We always aim to come in under budget. Now, part of that, now for me, I always make sure that there is a contingency line in there. Give yourself some cushion. It's better to say that the project budget is $250,000 and 10,000 of that 250 is your cushion. So you're really working with 240, and then you have some wiggle room if you go over 1,000 or 2. And in any case, at the end of the day, you never want to be in the red. I mean, it happens. That'll be a whole nother video. How do you handle it when your project budget ends up in the red? But you actually want to be under budget and give yourself some cushion to get there. But advocate. So what do we mean by advocating for your client's money? As the lead producer, you are the person that is in charge of negotiating contracts on behalf of your client in most instances, when it comes to vendors, when it comes to location, AV, all of the external consultants that will be a part of the project. And it is your responsibility to make sure you get the most bang for the buck while maintaining quality. That does not mean the lowest number is always the best. It's not true. The lowest number is not always the best, but it needs to be quality, and you have to think about price and how does it fit to your overall budget, and negotiate. Don't be afraid to negotiate. People negotiate with me all the time. People negotiate with you all the time. I negotiate with the vendors on the project to make sure that we are getting what is paid for, and also pay attention to extra dollars that might be spent. Just because you have the money in the budget doesn't mean that you spend frivolously or just throw in extra things. Go back and forth, push back on that vendor who's added an extra $500 charge to the bill that's not really attached to anything. Make sure you also listen to your client. Sometimes it goes the other way. Sometimes the client will identify a charge or an expense that really doesn't make a difference in the impact of the event. Be willing to listen to your client. And I have made that mistake. I mean, I have a really good story about this. I mean, I had a client who was concerned about the amount of money that was going towards decor, the room, the look, the feel of the event. She as quoted saying, this is the most we've ever spent. We've never spent this much on decor. Now, my team, we worked together to cut back. But when I reflected after the event, even though the entire budget we came in under budget in the end, honestly probably could have saved another 5,000. Rather than simply cutting back instead of just saving money, there was a whole section of the decor that could have just been cut, really been cut. And had I been maybe a bit more in tune with my client and what she was saying and what her needs were, I would have been able to see and be able to identify where in the budget could we have cut the fat and what was not really needed. Because some of those furniture rentals that we got, nobody used them. They were there. It looked cute. It looked cute. Nobody used them. No, nobody sat there. And so why we have furniture that nobody's going to sit on? That was it. And so maximizing the return on your client's investment also comes from listening to the client. Number two, you also want to get involved in the fundraising when applicable, or getting involved in the sponsorship raising where applicable. Now, not every executive producer or production house really gets involved in sponsorship or fundraising, but honestly, that is what will set you apart. That does not mean that you necessarily have to pick up the phone and dial for dollars on behalf of your client, but it does mean that you set them up for success. You're involved in the development of the sponsorship deck and the talking points and putting meetings together and ensuring that the client is ready to ask for 100K because the sponsor is only offering 50. Let's come back. Let's regroup. Let's outline this relationship and what warrants $100,000 ask and coach your clients through that. When you are able to do that, you are in a much better position to maximize your client's return on investment. And number three, for today, I really love this one because this is on your responsibility as the producer. It's on your responsibility as the VP, as the SVP, as the lead over the events for your organization, which is to over deliver. Whether your clients are internal or external, over deliver. Set expectation. That don't mean lower expectations. It just means be mindful of setting expectations that help your team, your committee, the board, all of the stakeholders have an idea of what to expect and then over deliver. That way, everyone not only sees it in the numbers, but they feel it in the experience. Maximizing that return on investment is, how do your guests walk away from that event? What relationships were developed? What higher dollars were achieved because there was just those little touches of details. There was some thoughtfulness. And sometimes it's nice to surprise your client. You can surprise them. They obviously need to know what is going to happen, what they are paying for. But it's really, really nice when you can find ways to surprise and delight, over deliver. And these are three ways that you can maximize your client's return on investment. Tap in at Verneda Adele on all platforms. Hit us up at info@humantonation if you would like to have a discussion about what your event needs are, and if you would like to work with Production by Humans Nation with Verneda Adele. That is moi. We will be back with our next video next Wednesday. Tonight, we talked about maximizing your client's return on investment, and let the world know how you'll use your hot sauce today.